You can take a note of the website here. This is the website to log on to. They'll ask you a group of questions, a set of questions based on your salary, your experience, your education level. And through answering that, it will give you a good gauge of whether you can get an EP in Singapore. Right, so I encourage you to go online to this page and find out more about your your eligibility criteria. Right. Okay, one of the draws of Singapore is the low personal tax rate. So I was sharing with some of the professionals earlier with you guys that Singapore actually has got one of the best tax rates in the region. And if you look specifically at the developed countries, just like Singapore, look at Australia, you look at China, Japan, Taiwan, right? These are all developed countries. And you compare Singapore, so we have one of the lowest tax rates. It's a tiered system, so the higher you earn, the more taxes you pay. This is for the highest bracket, 20%. It's lower than India. It's lower than most of the developed countries. So actually pretty attractive, right? But that said, I mean, how attractive the tax is, there are also other flip sides, which I'm not saying that Singapore is all good and rosy. I mean, cost of living is high, so I guess this kind of offsets the high cost of living, right? So I'll share a little bit more about that later on in the slides. Okay, so living in Singapore, right? I think one of the most important things about Singapore in terms of choice of living is, of course, the safety aspect, right? I mean, we are the #1 choice location in the world for Asian expats, and in terms of safety, also we are ranked #2 in safe cities, right? Yeah, I mean, I know about what happened recently in Bangalore, and it's something new to me because in Singapore we don't have such things don't happen. So I was pretty worried, but I flew in on Monday night, and it was very quiet. It's like I got to the airport to Whitefield in 45 minutes because there are no cars on the road. So actually, it turned out to be a good thing. Usually Bangalore traffic is pretty heavy, but essentially, yep, that's something that you might want to look out for. You're going to bring your kids over. Singapore's a good place because it's very safe. You can walk around at night and you won't get robbed or mugged, right? That's one of the key draws. If you're looking to educate your kids, there are a good range of international schools. So there are many. We have up to 6 global Indian international schools in Singapore. So this could be one of your options in terms of preparing your kids, all the way from elementary school to high school level, right? Our healthcare system, right? Essentially, we have both private and public healthcare providers. So you can choose to go to either one. Of course, the public one is a lot more cheaper. It's subsidized by the government and things like that. So it's relatively cheap in terms of cost of living. It's $30 per visit. That's 1,500 rupees per session. It starts at that amount. And you can visit the doctors very near, within 500-meter radius. Because Singapore is so densely populated, you can find doctors very easily. Hospitals are also in the vicinity, so it's very easy to get consultation for issues with your healthcare. Healthcare insurance. Healthcare insurance is not compulsory, right? So unlike the Western states where it's a very social welfare kind of system, everything is paid for. I guess the trade-off of the low tax rate is that healthcare insurance is not paid for. You have to get your own healthcare insurance. Starts from about $100 a month, Singapore dollars, to 300 Singapore dollars a month. So it depends on what kind of coverage you get. $100 should be able to comfortably get you some basic hospital coverage. If you get hospitalized, it actually covers your hospitalization fees up to a certain amount for 100 Singapore dollars a month, right? So I think that's not too pricey, right? But do check in with your future employers, because some of the employers actually offer corporate insurance, right? So if you're hired by a company, for example, if Deloitte wants to hire you, ask them what kind of corporate insurance you can ride on. Sometimes you don't even need to buy your own because the corporate insurance is good enough, right, for you to ride on. Likewise, you can also bring over your India insurance to Singapore. You need to check with your India healthcare providers, insurance providers on that particular aspect, right? Okay, Contact Singapore is essentially a professional and talent engagement platform. We have a lot of sessions. The one I'm doing right now, this kind of presentation is actually this Work in Singapore session. So that's actually our office in Chennai. I actually do it all across India. I cover the whole of India. So in Bangalore, we are also looking to roll out virtual sessions, right? So do keep a lookout. In 2 months' time, we are hoping to get, we are planning to get a Singapore-based industry speaker from the analytics industry in Singapore. He will actually give a presentation about the analytics industry in Singapore. So what I would advise you to do is to take a copy of our brochures, go onto our mailing list. How you can do that is to just simply apply for a job portal account. Okay, and then we will send you updates on sessions like this. Right, keep a lookout for the virtual session that's coming up. So you can actually dial in through a webinar from the comfort of your own office or home. Right. So that speaker session where we get an industry speaker is this Insights at Singapore. Right, so we do it for data analytics, we do it for cybersecurity, we do it for semiconductors. Right, so what we will try to do is to get an Indian professional who has worked his way up the ranks in Singapore to share more about the Singapore industry. I think that would be more relevant for all of you. Right, so keep a lookout. The other event would be Careers at Singapore. This is essentially a recruitment fair, so where there's a very high demand of requirements for professionals. We actually recruited doctors in Mumbai and Chennai back in 2014. So we got the whole hospital, one of the big organizations, the hospital healthcare system in Singapore, to go up and join us for a recruitment trip. That's where we recruit people on the spot. Right. Please log on to our website. The information is on your brochures. Essentially, the website has got lots of good information there, one being the employment pass minimum criteria, also cost of living calculator, which I'll share later, and also the job portal, right? Cost of living calculator is a very useful tool. As a good gauge, I would say that cost of living in Singapore would probably take up maybe about 25% of your total salary. So if you're earning about, let's say, 8,000 Singapore dollars, I would say 22,000 would be spent on rental, transport, food, and etc. miscellaneous budget. So 25% is a good gauge. Singapore is, to rent a house in Singapore, you probably need to rent a public housing. And public housing is only, you cannot purchase a public housing, that's what Singapore is, but you can rent it. Cost is about maybe 1,000 Singapore dollars a month for a 1 or 2 room flat, right? And in Singapore, we have flats, high-rise buildings, a lot of high-rise buildings, land scarce Singapore. So you got to get used to smaller spaces, right? In India, the hotels are huge. I'm not used to staying in huge hotels, but that's the fact, because you got so much land here. Singapore is, we're just building up everything. Now we're also trying to go underground, so it's innovative. Yeah. So housing rental is one big part of the cost. The other would be, of course, your transport. You don't need to have a car in Singapore because public transport is very convenient. Our metro network is becoming like London's metro. It's underground. In the past there used to be only 2 lines. Now there are like I think 8 lines or something like that. And I need to look at the map to know where I'm going to go to. In the past I could memorize every stop on the line, but now it's crazy. So it's very convenient. Almost maybe 800 meters or 1 km from your house, you'll be able to find a metro station. So it's very convenient to take public transport. Even the buses are clean. So the good thing about Singapore is very clean public transport. You don't see much litter on the floor. If you litter, you are supposed to pay a fine if you're caught littering. There's a chewing gum ban in Singapore as well. So you're not supposed to eat chewing gum because what happened was that people used to stick chewing gum on the train doors and it got stuck. So that's why they banned chewing gum. It's very interesting, all these small little things we ban. Yeah, but so cost of living is high. You don't need a car, but I think groceries and you can easily get it from supermarkets. It's all very fresh produce and not too expensive, right? So if you go onto our website, it gives you an estimated cost. Basically what I mentioned. You can just roughly key in what you think would be your estimated expenses, and it gives you a good guide of how much you would expect to pay every month, right? This is our job portal, so I do encourage you to log on to it because this is your gateway to finding a job in Singapore, right? And you should spend most of your time on it because we actually segment our job portal into different sectors. So the one that would be relevant to you guys would be Infocom and Media, because that's where all the analytics jobs are put. Also, you could look at consumer business, because companies like MasterCard, Visa have their analytics roles put here. And if you're more into the research of analytics, then look at research and academia. We do have a couple of public institutes that government funded that conduct analytics research work. So this could be another possibility for you guys out there if you're looking at more towards a research role, right? So do explore our job portal. What happens is that if you were to click on one of the industries, for example, Infocom and Media, it will list out the list of jobs from the different companies, the job description, what kind of function it needs, right? And if you just roll over one of them and just click on it, it will expand and it'll tell you the job scope. So I think for a data scientist, you'll probably be very keen to know what sort of projects you work on, whether it's complex or is it something that is just run of the mill. So you can actually get the information here. Do take a look here and see what sort of, which particular role suits you the best. Right. Okay, and that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Please do stay in contact with us. Database building is very important. We like to keep in touch with you. You may not be interested to come to Singapore now, but who knows, 2-3 years down the road, you decide to want to move. You can always contact us. A good way to contact us is on our LinkedIn. My colleague RT is the LinkedIn champion for Contact Singapore. So add her on LinkedIn. You can also add me. My name is Gabriel Lim. We regularly check our emails and